In this video, I'm going to show you how to find the right B2B influencers to promote your brand. And this works even if you're trying to find niche micro influencers or like the top expert in a specific industry. I'm also going to show you some pretty nifty tactics like how you can identify your competitors' top performing influencers and then find lookalike influencers for your brand. So first, I'm going to show you a few ways to manually find influencers, and then I'll show you how you can speed up the process with tools. So first, you can just manually search each platform using specific keywords. So let's say that you want to find an SEO specialist on LinkedIn. In this case, I would just type in SEO consultant or SEO into the search bar. Then you can filter by people and also add like a location or an industry. But to be honest, I don't find these filters to really be that useful. Instead, I usually look for influencers that my competitors have worked with. So for example, let's say that Ahrefs is my competitor. In this case, I would type in hashtag Ahrefs partner, and then I would click on posts. And I can see a partner post right here. So I would click on this person and then look at the people that LinkedIn recommends. And in this case, it actually gave me some pretty great recommendations. But the tricky part with this is that you might not know of any competitors who are currently running LinkedIn influencer marketing campaigns. And in this case, you might really just have to find like one influential person on LinkedIn and then go from there. Also, once you think that you've found someone, be sure that you check that their engagement is actually legitimate, because this is a massive issue on LinkedIn. A lot of creators, especially the ones with a lot of engagement, participate in engagement pods, which means that you might not actually be reaching your ICP if you do a partnership with them. Now, if you're on YouTube, just search for relevant keywords. So for example, let's say that you're a website builder like Wix. In this case, I would just type in like how to build a website and see which YouTubers pop up first. I'd also look at upload frequency because a lot of YouTubers are very inconsistent, and that can make your results vary wildly. Now let's say you want to partner with Substack influencers. In this case, you could just type in a keyword into the search bar like SEO. But honestly, I don't find this filter to be very helpful, so I would actually move on to the next step. So the next option is to use Google search or ChatGPT for recommendations. So for example, if you want to find like newsletter creators, you can literally just search something like best SEO newsletters, and you'll find that there are a whole ton of them. But I will say that Google search doesn't work as well for finding like LinkedIn creators. So in that case, I would probably just use ChatGPT. And this is actually the exact process that Igor, the influencer marketer at Ahrefs, uses to find their creators. So we first started with this prompt: share some YouTube channels that had Shopify as a sponsor. I need channels related to marketing, business, entrepreneurship, education, etc. And then to find LinkedIn influencers, he said, can you give me a list of LinkedIn influencers with more than 20,000 followers who talk about marketing? Now, the answers were kind of broad, so he decided to narrow it down with this prompt. Let's do 20,000 to 80,000 followers. Can you find me like 20 or so? But sometimes I find that the results ChatGPT gives you is just the mega influencers, and that's not always very helpful. So that's when I move on to the third option. So the third option is to look at your current customer list. So are any of your existing customers influencers? And existing customers are great because they already know your product, and they probably also have a case study that they can share.
One of the first things that we did was like, okay, before going outside, let's try to find inside for people who might have an audience, might talk about these topics already, and that they are users, because those are like way more easy to like convince to work with you at the beginning, obviously. And also you don't need to brief them basically, because they know the product, they have use cases, they have case studies, and especially in our case, our tool is like very much B2B, so it's very much based on results. We are a funnel tool, so we help people, get better conversion with the landing page and all of that, So if we can take someone that has a real use case, that's like in my previous tool, I got like 5% conversion rates. With Perspective, I have 25%. That's like a crazy video that you have already there, and it's a really good testimonial, it's a really good case study, So I would say that's a really good starting point, just like even send an email to like your customer base and be like, hey, we're looking for people to talk about their experience with the product. You know, if you have like an audience, something like that. If you're interested, like, you know, just reply, something like that. Even can go like a way longer. And it can help you get started for sure.
But the tricky part is obviously finding customers that already have an audience. Now, I don't have a perfect solution to this, but one trick that I learned from Rand Fishkin is that you can download your archive from LinkedIn and then use a tool like Phantom Buster or even ChatGPT to analyze the data and then give you a list of influential people who follow your company's page or the pages of influential employees in your organization. Now, obviously, not all of your customers follow your LinkedIn page, but I do have to say that the easiest way to find relevant B2B influencers really is just using a tool like Favikon. It's really great because it works across all of the major B2B platforms like LinkedIn, Substack, and YouTube, as well as like Instagram, TikTok, all of the common ones. It also has really advanced filtering features, so you can find influencers by niche, by engagement rate, by follower count, and even posting frequency. So for example, let's say that I want to find SEO influencers on LinkedIn. I can literally just type in SEO influencers on LinkedIn with at least 10,000 followers, but no more than 50,000. They should speak English and be active on the platform. And you can see that it generates a list of great SEO pros. So I can scroll through and see an overview of their specialties and platforms that they're active on. But say I want to go deeper on someone. Let's click on Brody Clark. So you'll see an overview and some of the brands that he's already done a collaboration with. So this looks pretty promising, so let's go ahead and look at his full profile. When you come in here, you see an overview of him, including the social media platforms that he's active on, as well as an overview of some of his posts and performance. So let's look at his LinkedIn stats. So you'll see he has an authenticity score of excellent. Now, I should mention that the authenticity score is essentially a metric that helps you weed out influencers who participate in fake engagement, like engagement pods, or people that excessively use AI to write their content. And this is unfortunately pretty common on LinkedIn. And I even saw that the influencer marketing manager at Wix, Sarah Adam, quit partnering with LinkedIn influencers specifically because of this problem. So definitely check for fake engagement before reaching out to an influencer. Now back on his profile, you'll also see an estimated price of $1,000. And if you're curious of how we came to this conclusion, it's actually based on verified influencer rates that we pulled from over 100 LinkedIn creators. And it factors in not just follower count, but also engagement, their authenticity score, and just other factors that you can read about here. Now, I will say that just because that's what our calculations predict the influencer's rate is, doesn't mean that that's what their rate actually is. It's still kind of the Wild West out there. Like this one B2B marketer was quoted $650,000 for a single LinkedIn post. Just saying. Here are a bunch of his stats on his growth and engagement. And down here, you see a list of brands that he's already partnered with. So for example, you can see that he's already done collaborations with SimilarWeb, Moz, and SEMrush. But you don't just have to type something in. You can also use the filters. For example, let's first set it to creators and then scroll down here and sort by industry and put marketing and sales. For niche, we can scroll down here to SEO. Now let's go to countries. Maybe I only want to do influencers in the United States. I can also select the language, so I'll set it to English. And then you see we have a bunch of different social platforms. Let's do LinkedIn, and I'll type in a minimum and maximum follower count. And maybe I'll only include active accounts. You'll see there are also a bunch of filters for YouTube and even Substack. So apply filters, and you can see that we get a bunch of relevant SEO specialists. Now, one of the hardest aspects of influencer marketing is figuring out which influencers actually drive sales. One way that you can figure that out is to just look at the influencers that your competitors continue to rehire. Now, obviously, those influencers you can't hire because, well, they probably have an exclusivity contract with your competitors. But the next best thing that you can do is use Favikon's lookalike tool. So what this is you can type in any influencer and Favikon will show you lookalikes, so other influencers just like them. So for example, let's say that your competitor is Dream Data. In this case, we see that Brendan Hufford has done several campaigns with them. So I could type in Brendan Hufford and maybe another similar influencer and find a bunch of lookalike influencers. If I want to get even more specific, I could add filters. So for example, maybe I want to only go after people in SEO. So in this case, I could come down to niche, select SEO, and you'll see that it updates the results to only show me lookalikes who are in the SEO industry. So if you want to sign up for Favikon, you can do so using the link in the description. It really is the easiest way to find B2B influencers. And you can actually manage your entire campaign in there because you can message influencers and even manage your inbox. Now, another option is to hire an agency to do it for you. And the benefit of an agency is that they already have a system and they probably also already know which influencers tend to convert well and what a fair price might look like. But I would say that an agency isn't a perfect solution. In fact, the influencer marketing manager at Ahrefs said that it was anything but a seamless experience. But I actually think that the biggest drawback with agencies is that you as a brand don't get to develop as deep of a relationship with the influencer. And you don't want it to be just a transactional relationship. You want to build that relationship deeper so that, well, for one, they might give you more customer research insights, and also, hopefully, they talk about your brand more effusively and potentially even just organically with their audience. But I would say that using an agency can be helpful if you just need some systems in place to get started. But alternatively, you could just subscribe to the Favikon YouTube channel, and I'll provide that information for you. In fact, one of the biggest things with starting an influencer campaign is coming up with a great campaign concept. So that's why I created this video over here that goes into some of the very best B2B influencer marketing campaigns that I've ever seen. For example, I'm going to be covering this campaign that turned $12,000 into $1.1 million in pipeline.